Hello students, I am Tulika Banerjee. Today I bring you the next learning episode in BSc Forensic Science on an important unit of paper question document, that is printed and Xeroxed documents. Dear students, in this lecture we will first discuss about printed and Xeroxed documents. We will also study about the types of printers and the various identification features of printing processes. In addition to this, you will also be told about types of techniques involved in different photocopying machines and how examination of the photocopied documents are carried out. We will wind up this lecture with a conclusion. Let's have a look at the modules which we are going to learn today. Module 1, Introduction to Printed and Xeroxed Documents. Module 2 is regarding types of printers. Module 3 is regarding identification features of the printing processes. Module 4 is regarding types of techniques involved in different photocopying machines. Module 5 is regarding examination of the photocopied documents, and Module 6 is regarding the conclusion. One of the most extraordinary skills that we as human beings possess is written communication. Unlike a conversation, our written words allow us to transmit ideas not only over distance but also over time. At no time in man's history, however, have the documents we make and print gone through more dramatic technological changes than in the past 30 years. The ephemeral world of thought has been transformed into something tangible using the equally ephemeral electric charges held in a silicon memory register. With every technological advancement, there has been a corresponding change in the way we record and store our ideas. Certainly, some of the earliest attempts at industrial chemistry and technological innovation came from the efforts to make better inks and dyes. In case of typewriters, the typeface designers quickly took advantage of the harder metals by creating new type fonts with finer detailing and smaller sizes. Because of the greater readability of these newly created alphabets, more letters could be strung together on a page, thus saving paper and ink cost for the printers and publishers. As printing costs were reduced, the distribution of the printed word on pamphlets, flyers, and of course, books began to spread among the population. The information technology of the day continued to move in lockstep with general technological innovation. Next, we will be talking about the printed documents. In the late 1960s, it was considered mandatory in the field of question document examination to read Ordway Hilton's, Dr. Philip Boffard's and Dr. David Crown's treatise on the examination of typewritten documents. Today, the modern forensic document examiner should also be aware of things such as the operating system, the word processing program, the version of the word processing program, the digital font and version of the font file, the printer driver and its release dates, as well as the connection to the printer, that is a standalone or networked. All can have an impact on the appearance of the printed text, as can the many variables associated with the printer itself. Next, we will be talking about the examination of the printed document itself. An examination will often be conducted to help answer the questions that are at issue in the case. Some of these questions are likely to include: is the document an original or copy? Can the printing technology be identified or dated? Has more than one technology been used to prepare the document, that is letterhead printed on a lithographic press, the variable data printed with dry toner? In a multi-page document, is there evidence that one or more pages are prepared differently than the others? Is there any evidence that text has been altered or added to the document? Are there any obvious or gross defects in the printing that might lead to the machine being individualized? In general, the well-established principle that documents should be thoroughly scrutinized on both the sides, corner to corner, is just as valid for modern computer-generated documents as it has been since the dawn of forensic document examination. After the printed documents, we will be talking here about the photocopied or the Xeroxed documents. The photocopy machine is used for making copies of the original documents present, and these documents are not original but are Xerox and contain the characteristic features of the machine through which it has been photocopied or Xeroxed. Photocopied documents are the one which can be forged easily, and its detection is not an easy task. The detection of forgery by photocopying or Xeroxing cannot be done just by analyzing the photocopied questioned document, but it also requires the examination of the machine by which the photocopy is done, and the other thing is the machine should be in the same state as it was when the photocopy was done. The paper used for the Xerox is also analyzed for any specific quality and individuality. All the parts of the Xerox machines are analyzed during the examination of forgery by photocopy. One main aspect of the photocopied document is that they cannot photocopy the watermark present in the original document, which can be one of the features for the identification of the original document. The forger may try to develop same type of watermark by using some other method, by using oils or acid to make the portion of the paper thin as in the original document where watermark is present. Next, how examination of photocopied documents is done. The characteristics which should be studied during analysis of photocopied documents comprises of type of toner and its characteristics, type of paper used, any special texture of the paper, gripping instrument analysis, a study of the markings produced by the photocopying machine, appearance of the black streaks and its study, the clearance of the photocopied document, study of feathering of ink, any overwriting should be looked for. Some of the types of printers that we have included in this particular lecture comprises of the dot matrix printers. The dot matrix printers are technically described as impact matrix printers. This distinguishes them from non-impact matrix printers such as inkjet, thermal print head and even laser, all of which create text and images as a series of closely spaced dots. The earliest development work on wire printers appears to be that of Reynold B. Johnson at IBM in the year 1949. In 1978, Epson used the EP101 dot matrix technology to market the first under $2000 consumer dot matrix printer, the Epson TX80. The TX80 never sold well, however, and the first commercial success for dot matrix technology came 2 years later in 1980 with Epson's MX80. The 80 referred to the number of columns it could print. The original Epson dot matrix printers used a 9-pin vertical array for their output. Dot matrix printers are used primarily in settings where carbon or NCR copies require an impact process or where very low output costs are a factor. Printronix in the year 1974 developed a dot matrix printer for use with large computers and very high speed output. They are known as the line dot matrix printers. The line matrix printers utilize an entire row of magnetically fired pins, or in some cases several independent heads that shuttle side to side. The characters in the print run are formed as the paper advances vertically while the pins fire horizontally. Line matrix printers are often used in applications such as bulk mailings and where it is necessary to fill in pre-printed forms. The second type of printing technology that we have is inkjet printing technology. There are two distinct types of inkjet technology. The first one, drop on demand, and the second one, continuous drop. Although the continuous drop inkjet printers were the first to be used commercially, the drop on demand printers are by far the more common today. The very large inkjet printers are typically used for printing billboards, truck side graphics and fabrics. Large continuous drop inkjet printers are typically used in high speed, high volume environments rather than on standard correspondence. A document examiner might encounter their output on boxes or containers in the form of the printed product manufacturer and product information, including the bar coding on the boxes, bulk mailing labels and instant winner lottery tickets. The third type of printer that we have over here is the monochrome laser or LED printers. Although all laser printers utilize some form of electrostatic imaging to transfer toner to the page, there are several different variations on this theme. By far the most common method that is used to place images and text on a page is known as paint black. In this scenario, the laser paints the images and text onto the imaging drum and an electrostatic charge holds the toner with just enough cling to transfer the data to a page. There are also, however, paint white laser printers in which the drum is fully charged and by default will be covered in toner except where it is discharged by a laser. This latter type of laser printer is utilized most often in graphic art applications and advertising, where large black areas are more likely to be found. Finally, not all laser printers actually use a laser to form the images. Light emitting diodes, that is LEDs, and liquid crystal displays such as LCDs have been employed to form the images on the photoconductor in an electrostatic printer. The fourth type of printer that we have over here is the thermal wax or pigment printers. Thermal wax transfer printers function by melting a wax based resinous ink onto the paper. As the paper and wax coated ribbon move beneath the thermal print head, heated resistors melt the wax onto the paper. When cooled, the wax fixes to the paper. Monochrome printers have black only panels for each page to be printed, while color printers have either three, that is cyan, magenta and yellow, also known as CMY, or four, that is cyan, magenta, yellow, and here K stands for key or the black color. So, in combination we have CMYK color panels for each page. Because of their reliability and the fact that the waxy inks are waterproof, They are often used to print mailing labels, barcodes and bulk mailing envelopes. Printouts from these printers are sensitive to abrasion. However, as the waxy ink can be scraped or rubbed off or smeared. Some plain paper facsimiles machines also rely on thermal wax transfer technology. Thermal wax and thermal pigment printers are often used to produce the photograph of an individual on security documents such as passports. In passports, you must have seen the ghost image and the image of the individual, and in driver's licenses. The fifth type of printer that we have over here is the dye sublimation printers. A dye sublimation printer is a computer printer that uses a thermal heating head to transfer the dye to a medium such as a plastic card, printer paper or poster paper. Unlike the thermal wax process, however, the dyes on the plastic panels transfer to the paper as a gas. Most dye sublimation printers use the CMYK colors, where C stands for cyan, M stands for magenta, Y stands for yellow and K stands for the key color or the black color. Because the dyes used in these printers can be made to adhere to plastic as well as the paper, the dye sublimation printing process is often found on identity documents that requires a photograph. A document examiner should keep in mind that the used CMYK panels in these printers and in the thermal wax printers retain the images of the material they have printed. If one or more of these printers are suspected of having played a part in a crime, the color panels that are spooled onto the take-up roll should be carefully unrolled and the images made of the dye panels should be checked in for. The next type of printers are the paper printers, and they are also known as direct thermal printing technology. Thermal paper printers, which were once used primarily as facsimile papers, the major sales markets for thermal paper printers have expanded to grocery outlets, large drug chains, banking, healthcare, gasoline outlets and gaming. A recent development in thermal paper printing is the new two-color paper that can print both black and red images. Some thermal papers, such as that made by Appleton, can have a UV security tag built in. These Appleton papers are nowadays being used in the manufacturing of the currency notes also. These tags are invisible in normal light but can be seen clearly in ultraviolet light. The security tag papers are beginning to be used as anti-counterfeiting measures for product identification packaging and may show up on airline tickets that are printed at the ticket counter. All direct thermal paper printers utilize a series of heated pins in the print head that come in contact with the paper. The heat causes a chemical reaction in the paper, resulting in the formation of an image. The next type of printing machines are the fax machines. In case of documents obtained from fax machines, this is not to say that faxes should not be analyzed, but rather that the document examiner must be cognizant of the reproduction limitations. Structural characteristics can be evaluated and may allow for a qualified opinion as to the authenticity of the signature or handwriting. Clearly determining that there are dissimilarities consistent with non-genuine writing is much easier than the alternative. Unlike those from computer printers and photocopiers, facsimile transmitted documents may undergo substantial dimensional changes that can result in significant reduction in size and even distortion to an irregular trapezoid shape. Research has documented changes in size ranging from a 2.9% increase to a 12% reduction. So, we will take up the identification features of those printers which we have already studied. Starting with the first type of printer that we have over here is the dot matrix printers. Because dot matrix printers utilize an impact printing process, they are often used today in settings where carbon or carbonless, that is NCR forms, are printed. Hospital records, cash register receipts and tax forms are typical kinds of documents created on dot matrix printers. The most common pin arrays found in dot matrix printers are 9 vertical, 18 vertical as 2 columns of 9 and 24 pin as 2 vertical columns of 12. The next we have is the inkjet printing technology. It is likely that most of the questioned documents that are encountered in a forensic laboratory will be from the drop on demand type of inkjet printer, which I have already explained you. In commercial high speed applications, however, the continuous drop printers are more likely to be found. Packaging, barcode, bulk mailings and lottery tickets are some of the more common applications for the high speed continuous drop printers. The third type is the monochrome laser or the LED printers. Both black and white and color laser or the LED printers utilize dry toner as their ink. Keep in mind, however, that black and white and color copiers also utilize toner. Modern machines use heated fusor rollers to melt a thermoplastic binder mixed with the toner. As a result, some xerographic printers will produce images or texts that have a glassy, melted appearance. Many of the newer microfine toners, however, have a much flatter appearance. Thermal wax printers produce a relatively low resolution output but have very saturated colors. A pin or a scalpel can be used to scrape the waxy ink from the paper surface. Some plain paper fax machines also use this process. The next one is the dye sublimation printers. The actual output resolution is fairly low in this case and the eye is tricked into seeing greater detail because of the fine color tones that are possible with this process. Dye sublimation printers are often utilized to produce identity documents, both genuine and the counterfeit one. Keep in mind that the rolls of imaging film that remain in the printer retain the images that they have produced. Thermal paper is generally found in two different formats. Printouts on the first type resemble the older thermal facsimile copies with special coated paper that is slick on the reverse side and somewhat chalky appearing on the imaging side. The other type of thermal paper more closely resembles the ordinary heavy paper stock with the thermally sensitive coating. Many of the PIC type lottery machines use the second type of paper also. Some newer thermally coated papers have dual temperature coatings that can print in both black and red. Under medium magnification, the irregular density of the printing elements can often be seen. The last ones are the fax machines. An examination of a faxed signature or handwritten entry must be approached with considerable caution as an assessment of line quality characteristics cannot be fully undertaken. Subtle details such as inconspicuous pen lifts, hesitation, retouching and minor tremor are unlikely to have been reproduced. Another concern is that transmission noise may create what appears to be tremor in the signature and other handwritten lines. The techniques involved in the photocopying of documents comprises of 3 processes: the chemical process, the thermal process and the electrostatic process. So, let us discuss them in brief one by one. Taking up the very first process is the chemical process. Light sensitive paper is exposed to the original document and a specific type of chemical composition is applied to it for the reaction between the original document and the paper on which it should be photocopied. Due to the reaction of the chemical applied and the use of light sensitive paper, the photocopy of the original document is produced. The second process is the thermal process. In this technique of photocopying, paper having different chemicals is used and these papers are placed in contact with the original document to be photocopied and are exposed with infrared lamp which exposes the paper with varying degrees of heat. Due to this heating process of the paper, the corresponding places of the paper on which the photocopy is to be made also gets heated up and this produces a photocopy of the original document. The best example of this technique is the thermofax. The third technique or the process is the electrostatic process. In today's world, the use of electrostatic type photocopy machines are very popular. Xerox Corporation has started xerography machine based on the principle of electrostatic process in the year 1950. Electrostatic process is based on physical and electrostatic phenomena due to which the static electricity produces an opposite charge on the paper conductive surface. For the analysis of questioned photocopied documents, there are certain points that should be taken into consideration. So, the most important thing during analysis is to identify the type of process involved in photocopy process, and for this the analysis of the paper is very necessary. In electrofax technique, the paper having zinc oxide is used. For xerography, simple paper is used. For thermal process, the paper which is heat sensitive and has specific chemical composition is used. So, by the analysis of the paper, the type of process involved can be identified. The basic qualities of the paper like the color, weight, texture, tone, trademark, etc. should also be analyzed and examined for. To identify the type of the photocopy machine, its model, etc. is also one of the important aspects of the photocopied document examination. There are class characteristics which are found in the photocopied documents, and these class characteristics are made by the machinery of the photocopy machine. The roller and the gripping instrument of the machine makes some of the important marks on the photocopy paper which are specific to a group of photocopy machine, and sometimes due to wear and tear they produce some unique feature which can even identify the photocopy machine in a specified manner. Due to the design and the placement of roller in the machines produce specific marks which are mainly the black streaks which are produced on the front of the photocopied portion. The already mentioned features along with this feature can be used for the identification of type and model of the photocopy machine. The study of toner and the paper may also be fruitful in the identification process of the type and the model of the photocopy. The establishment of the questioned photocopy to the questioned photocopy machine is also an important point that has to be kept in mind during the investigation of these cases, and the machines should be seized as early as possible because the owner or the forger may cause some changes to the machinery or the tool which obviates the chances of the positive identification of the machine with the questioned document. In photocopied document, there may be an individual marking or markings present caused by the wear and tear of its machinery with time, like the drum, roller, glass tube, gripping instrument may cause some specific markings developed in them with time. As we know that two machines cannot produce the same kind of markings by the process of wear and tear. As in other documents, the alterations and other forgery related crimes can take place in the documents involving the photocopied documents. The portion of the photocopied document which has been obliterated or erased appears clearer than on the simple paper. The overwriting and the feathering of ink can be more easily identified in the photocopied document than in other documents. For collecting the samples for the analysis purpose of the photocopied document, the photocopy machine should be activated for 5 to 10 minutes and blank Xerox should be taken from it. One thing that should be taken care of is that the machine should not be changed in any manner, or in simpler words, the integrity of the machine should be maintained. The analysis of sample can be done on the basis of the points I have just discussed with you. Now we can analyze the photocopied documents in this particular manner as shown in this table. First, we have the column of serial number, then the column of instruments which can produce markings, and the third column is regarding the character of markings. As for the gripping instrument, the character of marking will be this grips the paper, and this its marking will always be present in the paper in the case shown below. There are very slight grip markings on the borders of both the samples, and the markings are of the same pattern. Roller, the roller rolls over the paper and leaves its marks which are same in both the samples with even distribution of toner. Next, black streaks. These are due to the designs and placement of the roller in the machinery. Drum, the drum is rotating, and thus when it comes in contact of paper, it leaves its marks, and here in the samples shown, provided the marks produced are same. And the last one, that is the glass rod. The glass rods also produce some minute markings which can be studied by magnifying glass only. As we can see in both the documents, the markings that I have already told you and they are mentioned on the table are more or less same, and there is a constant fading of the ink at some places, which is also a proof of the same origin of the documents. So, the study of all the characteristics that I have already told you and the machine and an expertise in the study of these documents can help in identifying the forgery. Today, a number of documents are being presented in printed or Xeroxed forms. Forgeries are also taking place in these types of documents. The analysis of the forged documents not only includes the examination of the questioned documents, but also the machines from which it has been obtained. An expert forensic document examiner having deep knowledge in this field can carry out the examination successfully and infer whether the document is fake or not. Dear students, this is the end of our conclusion module, in which we have recapitulated our chapter about printed and Xeroxed documents. I hope you all have enjoyed this lecture. I'll be back with one more lecture in this series. If you want to learn more and enhance your knowledge, you may log on to our website www.cec.nic.in for MCQ, quizzes, LORs, etc. Make sure you revise the modules frequently so that you master the topic well and take up the exercises. Thank you for your time today. I'll see you in the next lecture. Keep learning and goodbye.